Terrific. It does look like we are showing on YouTube and Facebook, so I'll just give this a second to make sure.
One right now. What's that? Yeah, as soon as we get started, we're just waiting for everybody to log in.
No, I'm asking Wave. As a partner, would you like me to wave?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, Juliet, I actually have one of my partners here with me as well. So,
Oh, great.
He's stopped by to see what's going on.
We had a
Hello.
meeting coming up at noon, so I was just running early.
I know. No, you're okay. I actually, we were supposed to be on here. We're usually on here at 11, and I was trying to be in two places at once and couldn't get it to quite work. So Justin was kind enough to adjust our timeline, and we will be getting started here in about a moment. We just like to give it a second for Facebook to alert people that we're live and for folks to realize that we're a little bit off our timing.
You do this every week at this hour?
I do. And one of the things that we do, so we'll just go ahead and get started since I see a couple folks already on here with us. But one of the things that we do to continue to engage with the community, our members, and the overall residents in Westminster is provide them an opportunity to engage with us on our live broadcast. So every week we have a Monday feature with city councilors or a mayor giving updates on what's going on in the city, at city level, city hall. And then Wednesdays, we generally will reserve for welcoming some of our newer members into the chamber. It's branded as a network welcome where we're able to feature a small business and just personalize it, basically put a face behind the brand and help others understand what it is past just kind of the business name and the tagline. I am Juliet Abdel. I am the Chamber President and CEO. And if it is everyone's very first time on this broadcast, then I hope that you hit the like button on this video, that you also follow our page so that you can get alerted when we go live into the future. And if you're a returning viewer, like I see some of you already on here with us, then you already know the drill. You can hit the share button on this video so others see that we're live and can hop on with us. And you can also begin to engage with the broadcast through the comment section. The comments is the main way that we will take up any questions, any feedback that we may see come across. It's also our way of recognizing who is engaged and on here with us on this broadcast. Now, before we really delve into this and get started, I want to reiterate that we are on all social media platforms. So if you are not already engaged with us, you can find us on YouTube and LinkedIn, Westminster Chamber of Commerce. You can also find us on our Instagram and Twitter account at Westy Chamber. And each platform allows us to share different information and different content. So you really want to be engaged with us on all of our social media platforms. With that, I want to recognize a few people that are on here with us. I see our past board chairman, Brian Head, is on, giving us a nice good morning message, both to our guest and myself. Hello to you.
Friends with Brian forever. Hi, Brian.
Right. And then you may also know Parker Brown. Parker is with Carrabba's. Good morning to you, Parker. I do know Parker is on the road, so I appreciate you hopping on to the broadcast as you're driving. Hopefully you're doing it safely on our roadways. And we have Denise. Denise is tuning in with us and giving a quick hello to Justin and sharing that it is great to see the Bad Hatchet on here. So this is our way of knowing who's on here with us. Please be sure to type any pleasantries that you might have so that we can pull them up. Any remarks that that you can think of, you can place in there. It can even be off subject, like this one from Brian, where he says, "Doesn't look like Julia is anywhere near the hatchets," which is a wise move by you guys and great news for Brian Dice. Brian Dice is our board chair, and we were talking about coming out to the Bad Hatchet since my birthday was just the other day, and had a great time at your grand opening. let's go ahead and introduce the topic. Today, of course, we have Justin. Justin is the owner of the Bad Hatchet here in Westminster. Best corner for you to realize where they're at is 92nd and Sheridan. They're right beside that World Juice Bar location. But Justin, I'm very excited that we were able to hop on here together.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having us. And I have one of my business partners, Eric, just stopped by to say hi as well.
Yeah, so I'll just wave hello and let you guys get at it.
Thanks, Eric. It's really
Yeah,
great to see you.
Justin's doing a great job.
Oh, and Brian did recognize you, and he said it is long overdue that you guys get together. So off to the
Awesome.
side. Hopefully, you guys can connect sometime soon.
All right, look forward to seeing you all here. Bye.
Yeah, bye. So, Justin, I was privileged to get out there and be a part of your grand opening celebration. Let's tell people, what is the Bad Hatchet if they haven't already guessed it yet?
Well, I mean, essentially, the Bad Hatchet's pretty much what it sounds like. I mean, we're an axe throwing venue, place to come in. We've got a bunch of lanes set up here. We're for people who are brand new to the sport, maybe someone who's never thrown an axe before. We're very family friendly. Just it's a great activity. If you're used to going out, maybe doing some pool, throwing darts, maybe doing some bowling, but you're looking for something a little bit more edgy, pun intended, or something exciting or whatever. That's what we're here for. You come in, you take an hour, 2 hours, whatever, group of friends, family, and throw axes. And our coaches work with you to, help you get a little bit better at throwing axes. And, it's one of those things that's addictive. You throw a few times, you get it to stick, and you just want to keep doing it.
It does sound like quite the adrenaline rush, and I know I personally had the opportunity to try it. And your coaching, I would say, is excellent, because the third time I threw it, I nailed it. Yep. And now here's something I haven't told you yet, Justin, but around November, I went to a conference and they had an axe throwing kind of vendor that was set up. And I was like, oh, I know this. Justin's taught me. I'm going to go up there. I bombed it. And not only did I bomb it, but as they were telling me, their instruction was so different than what I had with you. And so I just think it speaks to a testament of the coaching that you actually provide and how helpful it is, because I could not even I tried until I probably, they got sick of me trying out there. But in comparison, night and day. But Christine is sharing that she can't wait to throw some axes. Christine's just up the road from you over at Kokopelli. So love that camaraderie and support for another business owner in the area. Justin, how long has the business been around?
So we were finally able to open our doors June of last year. We were hoping to open a little earlier, but we just ran into some problems, as most new businesses do. And so we got open in June, and honestly, we've just been doing great since. We're actually in the process right now of looking at opening a couple other locations. We're in negotiations with some other spaces. So we're growing, and a lot of that, has to do with our community. We appreciate the support, and it's a fun activity. So, we know that people just love coming in and doing it. So we want to provide easier access for people to get to them close to where they are.
Absolutely. And what would you say? So your industry is something that's really started to get hot in Colorado, and a lot of people are looking at it as an activity, as you were sharing. It can be family friendly. It could be just friends hanging out. It could be for any type of customer that walks in your door. So how would you differentiate yourself, or how do you differentiate yourself from another company that may be providing a similar service?
So really, we kind of market ourselves more as being that family friendly, that spot for the amateur, the people wanting to learn how to do it, people who just want to come in and have fun. So the axe throwing world, we actually have championships that are thrown, a year, once or twice a year on, channels like ESPN and international sports channels. I mean, people make a lot of money doing this professionally. And why we have some of those guys come in and participate, we really gear ourselves towards that couple or that husband and wife that want to get out of the house, or like we have a ladies night coming up on June 26th, just all the ladies that want to come out and try it, or even those with kids. We allow 8 years old and up to come. That's really kind of our bread and butter, our niche. We want them to be introduced to the activities. We have people come in and say, hey, I did this when I was in Boy Scouts, or I grew up on a ranch, and I would throw knives or axes just at the trees in the backyard to waste time. We want to be that place where people can come in, feel comfortable, have fun, and learn how to do it, and not worry about being around the people that we consider pros in the sport that really they just want to practice on honing their skills, and they really don't like being around all the other amateurs. So we're more of the place for everybody else.
I love that. I love that you've shared that there is something that's a little bit even further than the everyday user, because a
Hmm.
lot of people look for what are competitive activities that you can get engaged in, and you've got a combination of both. You've got those folks that are just starting out and the ones that are these experienced. So is it like bowling? And I don't know that I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it, and it's totally okay that it's going to sound dumb, but is it like bowling where you have like a sacred ball that you could bring with you to the bowling alley? Like, do people bring axes with them if they're a
Oh, yeah.
pro axe thrower, or how would someone know that this is someone that is serious about it? And it's not because they're really pissed off at somebody; it's because they know how to do this and they do it well.
Yeah, we have quite a few people that come in and they bring in their own axes. I mean, prior to me looking at starting this business, I didn't know a lot about axe throwing. I've done some axe throwing when I was in the military. I learned how to do some knife throwing, just stuff to do through martial arts and stuff. And then I started having people come in and they're serious about their axes. Like, we've had people that come in on a regular basis. Their axes are engraved with a name. They've named it. They engraved like pictures and symbols or logos on it. And that is their preferred axe. And they pamper them. They're always, putting the oils on them, always sharpening them. They
Okay.
come in, throw them. We had one guy, he kind of had a bad throw, kind of nicked the bottom of his hand a little bit. And he's like, I'm done for today. I'm not tearing this thing up. And, but axes are expensive. I mean, our average axe that we have just for, the average customer coming in and throwing costs us about $60 to $65. So, I
Okay.
mean, it's not, cheap. So yeah, people come in and, they have their own axes, and some of them are pretty cool to look at, or they're handmade. I've seen some forged ones as well that people have made. So yeah,
That
it's
is
a sport
pretty
for
cool. I'm so glad I asked that too, because I thought you were going to be like, no, this is not something, but that's pretty awesome that is something. And it is a thing that people get behind and rally. If someone's afraid of going, right? So they might have a fear of sharp objects or of being in the line of fire, right? I mean, your background, you've been in enforcement, you've been in service before, and thank you for those and putting your life out there for us. But other people that may not have that in their life, right? How do
Mhm.
they overcome a fear, or what can you tell them to acquiesce this fear that they might get struck down if they walk into your place of business?
Well, the best advice I can give is what I personally believe in, which is, don't be scared of it until you try it. There's myths out there. Most people, I would say, at least once a week, we get someone coming in about this video that they saw on YouTube where the lady threw the axe and it came bouncing back and went over her head and went past her. And that is a very rare incident to happen. And the sport has come a long way. If you come into our venue, you'll see we have lots of different wood in the background that we use to help as a backstop. We don't have concrete floors that you throw on. We actually have artificial turf. We have wood chips, laid down. All that's designed that if you throw the axe, it hits the board and it falls, it's not going to bounce or it's not going to, ricochet back to you. Our axes are pretty sharp, but they're not so sharp that if you sit there and rub the edge of it on your hand, you're going to slice your hand open. It's so much safer than most people think it is. Once you come in, our coaches work with you. We explain the safety rules. We explain the proper technique on how to learn as a basic foundation how to throw axes. And we have people come in, they're scared and they're afraid it's going to come back and bite them. But after a few throws, they see that it really only goes a couple of feet and it comes nowhere near them if they, bounce off the wall or anything like that. So
Right.
it's one of those you kind of have to experience.
Absolutely. Well, and I'm glad that we walked through too, for those that are thinking that or feel like they can't do it, they can. I mean, heck, if I could do it, anyone can, I feel like. But this type of work is a little bit unique, and it doesn't sound like this has been kind of you grew up and, hey, I want to be the owner of an axe throwing company. So tell me about you as an individual, Justin. Like, who are you? Are you a Colorado native? Are you transplant here that's made at home in Westminster? And then how did you walk into this line of work?
Well, I'm not a Colorado native, but I've lived here since I was 6. So, I mean, I've been here a long time. And I grew up in Westminster. So whenever it came time for me to think about starting a business, Westminster was really where I wanted to kind of start from. I mean, I grew up near 120th and Federal.
Okay.
Except for the time that I went to military school for high school. I was in the Marine Corps. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I did like private sector contracting. I worked, law enforcement. I've just kind of always done that type of stuff, and I've owned some businesses along the way, just as kind of side projects, or to justify, like whenever I was working in law enforcement, moonlighting. I did like executive protection, security consulting, things like that, and really kind of wanted a unique business that I felt not only would be something good for the local community, something different for us, but something I can scale and grow as more of a secure retirement plan. So that's kind of how I kind of came into this. I was looking for something to do. I went axe throwing with a friend at another place up north, and really had a blast doing it. Was kind of looking at the money side of it, like this is like 1 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon, and there's dozens of people in here, and knowing what I paid, I'm guessing they paid something similar, and I was like, this could be a good business. And
Yeah.
so I reached out to some friends, and we put a lot of work into it, and decided, yeah, let's open one up and see how it goes. And like I said, we're already looking at other locations. We've only been open about 6 months.
Which is so exciting that that is happening. I mean, as you were telling me that earlier, I was like, I was about to ask you how things are going during this time. And to hear that you're going to be expanding, that tells me that you're doing not only okay, but you're doing well. And so, how are you able to adapt to the environment? We're in a weird environment right now, and there's cause for concern that's out there. We know of family, we know of friends, we know of others or ourselves have been exposed to COVID or have had to quarantine or isolate. And so how are you able to pivot during that time and also keep the environment in your business clean and safe for those people that are coming in?
Well, axe throwing is naturally kind of a socially distanced sport. You're not standing right next to people. You're not congregating in large groups right next to each other while you're throwing axes. I mean, that's just not safe. So we have that. Our lanes are all automatically, by industry standards, they're set up to be about 6.5 feet wide. When you're standing in the middle of that, you're assuming the next person on the next lane is about 6.5 feet away. So there's social distancing there. We sanitize everything. Between every group, we wipe down all of the axes. When people come in, they're usually coming in within their own household or within their close-knit circle of friends. So they're people that they're going to be hanging out with anyway. So I mean, we don't have where it's like going to a bar where you're standing around hanging out with friends, and then right next to you somebody you've never met before, or somebody you've never
Right.
seen, and that transmission could happen. You're put into your own little sections here. So
Sure.
it's
Yeah,
not
that
really
is like it's an oddly perfect mix of a business setup
right.
for the time that you're in, right? So even outside of COVID, it seems like you already had those things in place. That is an easy check mark to it. Now, you're not just X throwing. So if somebody's coming in for a birthday party, for example, are they bringing in food? What do you offer outside of the main service, which is the axe throwing? And
So we do have a concession stand. The original idea, and we're still working on it, has always been that we want to be what's called an axe throwing saloon. We want to have that bar with the alcohol, and I can see your wheels turning. You're probably like, well, throwing axes, being drunk. Well, people just don't get drunk doing this. You're staying active enough. Have a couple drinks over an hour or two period. It's very common in axe throwing places to have the alcohol. So we're working on that aspect. But currently, I mean, we source a lot of local snacks and sodas. Like we work with Rocky Mountain Soda Company. They do everything here locally. We do have a non-alcoholic beverage called Groovy. They are a Colorado-based company. They do everything the exact same way when they brew their beers and wines. They just stop it before it turns into alcohol. Tastes the same. So we have stuff like that. We have jerkies, candies. But yeah, if you want to have a party, we do like birthday parties, company events. We do team building activities, things like that. We do fundraisers. Like we just had a Girl Scout fundraiser a couple months ago for a troop. You can bring in your own outside food and drinks and enjoy those here. We don't have an issue with it. Our concession stand is here just because we know you're probably going to get thirsty. Maybe want a little snack while you're throwing some axes. And on top of that, we also have a pro shop. Our pro shop is just kind of a fun little add-on. People are like, "Oh, I've never been axe throwing." Now they're leaving with a T-shirt that says, "This is my axe throwing shirt," or
okay.
they're leaving with some of our stickers or something like that, just saying, "Hey, I'm enjoying getting involved in this new sport."
That is wonderful. I love all of what you were sharing. And I know we touched on the non-alcoholic when I was there for your grand opening and how that does fill a market. Especially recently, we've seen some open up across the state. that are just non-alcoholic locations. So
Mhm.
that's a great incentive for those folks that are more hesitant to socialize if they don't take part in that activity. Now, I do see with us Brian Dice, who's our chairman. I also see Dave Carpenter. Hello to both of you. Thanks for coming on. Like you like alcohol. Yes, I do like my non-alcoholic drinks. I indulge in quite a bit of those. But Brian is sharing that your place is a fun place for an activity, and that he needs to come out and schedule a time soon. So Brian, scroll up to see the other Brian's comment. But yes, let's find some time to go out there, or you go out there with your family and your friends and help spread the word about this awesome location. For those of you that are joining us right now, we've got the Bad Hatchet with us. They're located on the corner of 92nd and Sheridan here in Westminster, opened in June of 2020, and they're already growing so much that they're looking at additional locations to expand to, offering a variety of not only levels of training for people, so if you are an amateur all the way up to a pro in axe throwing, and they also, of course, go over the safety protocols. They've got things in place for the sanitary, actually things that are naturally already being done that comply with a lot of the COVID recommended guidelines that are there. You gave a thought to me just in your answer a moment ago, Justin, and that was when you emphasized that all types of people can come here, right? It's personal, it's for companies, parties, it's for fundraisers. But why that stood out to me was, as everyone that's tuned into us this knows, we had some fires that happened that affected over 1,000 homes in our surrounding communities, and took up a lot of acres along the way, and so much has been affected by this in a negative way. The Bad Hatchet came forward with a great way to support folks, and I want you to kind of touch a little bit about how you were a community support block for those affected by the wildfires.
Well, like as you mentioned, I mean, we're at 92nd Sheridan. We're right down the street from where the furthest east border of the mandatory evacuation zone was. And I live over near the First Bank Center now. And so, I was watching, like, are we going to be evacuated?
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends from the church I go to and stuff like that, they were affected by it. And I just felt like we have a place here that we try to be involved in the community as much as possible. And why not, allow us to be a place where people can drop by donations. There's so many places out there you can go to drop off donations, but we wanted to be a place where you could drop off and we're going to give it directly to people. We have ties with the different churches. Since I'm a first responder, I know a lot of first responders out there that are working with organizations. We want to be able to give directly to them. And we decided we wanted to actually take it one step further. And what we wanted to do is, if you came in and dropped off a donation, we wanted to encourage the community to actually act on it versus just saying they want to do something. So we were giving away free axe throwing sessions. If you brought something into us, we were going to reward you and thank you for your support by taking, something that we already offer and giving it to you in return.
Yeah, I love that community support that you did, and the quick approach that that was almost the next day as we were getting information on who amazing partners are in the community, and areas that people can really volunteer their time, resources, or additional items. You guys were already there and sharing, hey, send them our way, and here's how we're going to do that to support them. So I did want to have you highlight, just mainly because it's such a great opportunity that you had there in supporting someone, and you did not hesitate. So
right. Thank you.
So axe throwing is something that people often always think of as an outdoor only activity. Can you talk a little bit around that? Is it just the mindset of outdoors and you're cutting down trees and things like that? Is that why people assume that axe throwing is just outdoors?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, up until I'd say probably about 10, 12 years ago, that's really when people did it. I mean, just people throwing in their backyard, maybe trying to earn that marriage badge in, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts types of organizations, things like that. And groups started popping up mostly in the East Coast. And it was kind of popular in Europe for a while before that, but started bringing it inside. And, it really doesn't take a lot. I mean, you just got to have, obviously, ceilings that are high enough. You have to have enough space everybody can safely spread out and do it. And the nice thing about, doing it indoors is it's something you can do year round. I mean, in Colorado, our weather fluctuates so much. I mean, it could be a blizzard in the morning, and in the afternoon, everything you're wanting to walk around in the Colorado uniform of, shorts and a hoodie. So we try to, have an activity that you can do year round for that. And, throwing indoors is not much different than being outdoors. In fact, if you come into our venue, you kind of see we have it set up to where it looks like you're more outdoors than you are inside, that you're kind of in, out by the barn or, out on a ranch or something like that. And that's kind of the look that we have.
Yeah.
And one of our new locations that we're currently in negotiations right now, we're going to have a bunch of outdoor lanes as well.
Oh, that's
Where
awesome.
you can throw outdoors, or even on days like this. It's not a horrible day out to be outside and doing an activity. And we know in Colorado we love our outdoor sports.
We sure do. We've got Ashley, who also loves you guys. She's tuned in and said that it's so much fun out at the Bed Hatchet, and she's been there several times. So I just wanted to display that for you. We've got her tuning in from our YouTube platform. Appreciate you, Ashley, for supporting local. I've got a couple more myths I want to throw your way and see how you can help debunk these, Justin. Here's one, and that's you need strong strength. So you really need like a superpower strength to throw an axe. Is that
that is a very common misconception. And as a guy, it's kind of embarrassing sometimes for me to say this, but typically women come in and they actually do a lot better at axe throwing than the guys do. It doesn't take a lot of upper body strength. Our axes, typically the heads of our axes weigh about 1 to 1.5 pounds. So you're throwing for a while, it's going to wear your arm out. But it's all about finesse and it's less about strength. We have guys come in, they'll throw like a baseball, like they're trying to throw strikes, and they'll notice either they have no accuracy or their axe just isn't sticking. The harder you throw, less likely it's going to stick unless you know what you're doing. In the professional world, there is a technique called a power throw, but they have the technique down. Really just standing there and just, lobbing the axe towards the board, as long as you've got a good technique, you'll be a lot more successful.
And would you say that, so throwing the axe without warming up, is that something that should be taking place, or no?
You can. Obviously, like any other activity that you do, if you warm your muscles up, then you're not going to feel as sore as you do it. It doesn't take a lot of strength. It doesn't take a lot of, power, like I said, to throw an axe. But like any other activity, stretch it out a little bit, warm your arm up, do some, arm rotations or whatever, always helps.
That's awesome. And then here's the final one. I think we've answered it for some folks too, and that's an assumption that it's just for a loner. So it is just a solo activity, and you should go on your own, and that's it.
So we have a book here that has, I think last time I checked, it's about 60 something games that you can play.
Okay.
And only one of those is a solo game, and it's the way that the axe throwing match typically is done. You versus another person, each get a turn, throwing 10 times, highest score wins. Other than that, everything we have is team-based or group-based. We have games like Humans versus Zombies. We have games like 21 around the world. You're competing against your friends, against family, playing different games. You can throw an axe and you score 5 points, and then the person that you're competing against throws an axe and they score 3 points, then you're up 2 points. You can minus points. There's so many different ways to play it, but it's all as a group activity. Most people that come in with at least one other person. Usually it's groups of 4, 5, 6 people.
That's awesome. Thank you for humoring me with those myth type of questions. I always feel like it might resonate with someone who's curious about it or hesitant to do something. Justin, I've been peppering you with a ton of questions. So at this point, I want to see if you had anything that you were hoping to get off your chest that I maybe did not touch on.
Really a lot of that, I kind of wanted to make sure that I, explained about us and, answering like some of those myths that you had, we kind of covered. Really, our idea of a venue here is just to be a fun place to get away and do stuff. You get cabin fever. We had lockdowns for a year. People thought we were crazy for opening an axe throwing venue in the middle of the lockdowns. And really we're, like we explained, we're kind of COVID proof. So I got the opportunity to kind of talk about that stuff, and I was happy about that. We are growing. We really want to get more involved in the community. So, people have ideas on what we can do. We're in the process. We have a mobile trailer. We're in the process of building that out and, refining it a little bit where we can take it to, fairs. We can take it to events. You can book it and have it at your house for a birthday party. And we just had a birthday party here. I think it was 12 kids, all between the ages of 8 and 15. When you're thinking of stuff to do, looking for something to support local and looking for an activity, We hope that you think of us.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a wonderful way to wrap up your comments, Justin. And Denise commented right after that and shared that it's great to hear of your success and your growth plans. And I would echo that and even echo that I appreciate you being involved and thank you for being an involved business owner in our community. It makes a difference when we have active people like you and when you take on efforts like the wildfire, all the way to just being actively sharing your voice and your input on various things that come to mind. So we've appreciated this broadcast with you, and I know we have some exciting ideas moving forward to keep working with you into the future. I want to thank everyone that's tuned into the broadcast. For those of you that are watching with us now, or if you watch it later, this will be on and available for you to watch at any point in time in the video section here on our Facebook page or YouTube channel. You can rewind, rewatch, replay, send it out to someone who's curious or who's considering going out to check out axe throwing. But more importantly, ask us any questions. That's the number one way that you're going to get any thoughts that you have answered, any concerns that you may have come to mind. And if you're not comfortable typing it into the chat section later on, you can always DM the page and we're happy to get that over to Justin and his team. I know they're always willing to be a resource to you. Justin, before I let you go fully, I do want to ask, I know I've given the intersection of where you're located, but what is the way that folks can find you? Your address or a phone number?
If you just type in the Bad Hatchet in Google, it'll pinpoint where we are. But we are at the corner of 92nd and Sheridan in the H Mart Shopping Center, right between Subway and Great Clips. You can go to our website, thebadhatchet.com. Has tons of information on there, as well as lots of different ways that you can contact us. And if you just want to do the old-fashioned thing and give us a call, you can always just call us at 720-510-2965. We're open every day but Monday and Tuesday, and I'll kind of let it slip now. We're maybe looking at entertaining the idea of opening on Mondays and Tuesdays just because the amount of calls and emails we get about people wanting to come in on those days too.
I believe it. It gets hard trying to restrict hours when people are so fluid with their availability. So thank you so much, Justin. I've enjoyed being with you on this broadcast. I always love the chance for you and I to get together and talk. So I'm glad that this took place, and I can't wait to see you again at some point this year.
Dan, we missed you on your birthday, but that was the weather. It wasn't you.
It was the weather. It stormed bad. All right. Bye.
But we did still have people come in.